In a distant land, nestled between mountains and rivers, there was a village known for its wisdom and harmony. The people of this village had lived for generations in peace, finding balance in their relationships with nature and each other. They had a deep respect for the earth and the resources it provided, sharing everything they had with fairness and integrity. Their economy was simple, built on trust, cooperation, and a deep understanding of their place in the world. Yet, as time went on, they felt the distant rumble of change. Beyond their borders, the world was evolving, and the whispers of a new way of life began to seep into the village. One day, a traveler arrived, carrying with him tales of distant lands where people had forgotten the old ways. He spoke of cities that glittered with wealth, of people who measured their worth by what they owned and not by what they gave. His stories stirred unrest in the hearts of the villagers. They had never thought to question their way of life. But now, for the first time, some began to wonder if they were being left behind. The village elders gathered the people together for a council. They sat in a great circle beneath the ancient trees, their faces lined with concern. "Tell us," one of the elders began, addressing the traveler. "What is this new way you speak of? We have heard of great wealth, of cities where people are ruled by the power of gold and silver. How does this come to be?" The traveler stood in the center of the circle, his eyes thoughtful. "It is true," he said slowly, "that the world beyond these mountains has changed. Once, like you, people understood that wealth was not in what they possessed, but in their ability to live in harmony with each other and the land. But now, many have forgotten. They have come to believe that strength lies in the power to accumulate gold, silver, possessions. They no longer value the things that cannot be weighed or measured." One of the younger villagers, curious and eager for new ideas, spoke up. "But isn't it true that without these things, without wealth, without possessions, we would have nothing? Doesn't everything arise from the economy?" The traveler smiled gently. "Ah, yes, this is the belief many now hold. They think that without the economy of wealth, there would be nothing. But the truth, my friends, is that the original meaning of the economy has been forgotten. It comes from the ancient word oikonomia, which means the management of the home. The economy was never meant to be about wealth alone, but about the careful distribution of resources, the fair sharing of tasks, and the cooperation needed to survive. In the beginning, it was simple. The first humans organized themselves into small groups, each person taking on a role, each one contributing to the whole." He paused, allowing his words to sink in. The villagers nodded, remembering their own ways, their own simple life of balance and shared responsibility. "But then," the traveler continued, "as the world grew larger, as people settled and began to farm, they learned that survival meant more than just sharing what they had. It meant saving for the hard times, storing food for winter, preparing for drought. And so they began to accumulate. First it was food, then tools, and soon enough, people began to see that some had more than others. Barter began, seeds for meat, tools for grain. But even this was not enough, because how do you truly measure the value of one thing against another?" The village was quiet. The traveler's words rang true. They had always shared without question, but the idea of measuring value was something they had never needed to consider. One of the elders, a woman known for her wisdom, spoke next. "But if everything is valued differently, how do you decide what is fair? Who decides what is worth more? The hunter who brings meat, or the farmer who grows food? The builder or the healer?" "That," said the traveler, "was the question that many struggled with. And so, to avoid disputes, they created a new system, a system of exchange that could be counted, weighed, and agreed upon by all. And thus money was born. They chose metals, gold, silver and bronze, because they were rare and could be easily measured. But as time went on, money became more than just a way to trade goods. It became a symbol of power. The youngest of the villagers frowned. So this is how the rich and the poor came to be? Yes, the traveler answered. But the system is flawed, not because of money itself, but because of the way people view it. They have forgotten that money was meant to serve them, not control them. In their quest for more, they have created a world where some have too much and others too little. The rich rule with their wealth, while the poor are left dependent, struggling to survive. The villagers murmured among themselves, troubled by this thought. They had always lived in harmony, sharing what they had. The idea of hoarding wealth, of using it to control others, was foreign to them. But what of fairness? Asked a young woman, her voice soft but steady. Is it not fair that those who work harder, who contribute more, should receive more? The traveler nodded. It seems fair, yes, but ask yourself this. Do those who have more always give more, or do they simply take more because they can? The villagers were silent. They had always believed in fairness, in balance. But now they began to see that the world beyond their village was not like theirs. In the cities, people measured their worth by what they could accumulate, not by what they gave back. One of the elders, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. So, what is the solution? Do we return to barter? Do we eliminate money? The traveler shook his head. No, the answer is not to go back. Barter worked when people lived simply, when everyone could contribute something of equal value. But today, the world is too complex for that. We must look forward, not back. The key is not to eliminate wealth, but to change how we value it. Wealth is not in what we have, but in what we can share. The elder leaned forward, her eyes bright with understanding. You mean the true economy is not about money at all? It's about how we manage the resources of our lives, how we circulate love, knowledge, and wisdom, as well as food and tools. Exactly, the traveler said. The heart is the true bank. Just as the heart circulates blood to every part of the body, so too must we circulate our resources, our love, our care, our knowledge, to every part of the community. If we hoard, we create imbalance. If we give freely, we create abundance. The young woman who had spoken earlier nodded slowly. It's like the saying, teach a man to fish, and he will never go hungry. If we only take, we become dependent. But if we learn to give, to contribute, we become rich in ways that no amount of money can match. The traveler smiled. Yes, that is the true wealth, not what you have, but what you can give. And when we give from the heart, we create a new kind of economy, one based on trust, on love, and on the recognition that we are all part of something greater. The fire crackled softly as the villagers sat in deep reflection. They had come seeking answers about the economy, but they had found something far deeper, a truth about themselves, about their connection to one another, and about the value of their lives. As the night wore on, the traveler spoke of the future, of a world where the economy would be based not on possessions but on networks of care and cooperation. We are entering a new era, he said, an era where the house we manage is not just our village or our family, but the entire world. In this new world, the economy will no longer be about control, but about flow. It will be about circulating resources in a way that nourishes everyone. The villagers nodded, understanding now that the true wealth of their lives was not in what they could hold in their hands, but in what they could share with their hearts. They realized that the economy of the future was not a distant dream, but something they could begin to build right here, in their village, with each other. And so, they decided that night to return to their old ways, but with a new understanding. They would still share their resources, still give and receive in balance, but now they would do so with a deeper sense of purpose. They would not measure their worth by what they had, but by how they could help each other grow. As the fire died down and the stars twinkled overhead, the villagers felt a peace settle over them. They had found their way back to the true heart of the economy, one that pulsed with life, with love, and with the promise of a new world. And in their hearts they knew that they had everything they needed.